today. Going to be setting up my new PC. Very excited about this, and this video is brought to you by Movo. I'm using their shotgun mic for this. They sent that to me. I will put a link to that down below. I will also put a link to a lot of these parts that I'm using as I'm building my new PC. I have never built a PC before from scratch. First time I'm ever going to have a brand new motherboard, brand new CPU, new memory sticks, all of that. I've kind of played Frankenstein before and built things out of a lot of components that I've pulled from different other PCs, but I've never actually bought all new components. The one I've been using for all my video editing and all of that, it's about 11, 12 years old, probably something like that. And it actually worked pretty good. I have a 1650 Super that I've been using as my GPU, my graphics card, and that has been fine. That has actually helped to process videos and that sort of thing a lot better than the old graphics card I have. I'm not Jay or Linus or Paul, so I can't sneeze and have a 3090 fall from the sky. So I will be using that same GPU in my new computer. But with the new equipment, I'm switching to DDR4 RAM, and obviously the faster processor. I'm using the Ryzen 5 5600K. Very excited for that, and that should actually help a lot with the speed of my computer. What I was using was the AMD FX 8320. It was an 8-core processor, which was fine, but running DDR3 memory, and although the 5600X, I'm using the 5600X, what that is a 6-core processor, but it has 12 threads, and it's just a faster processor in general. So new architecture, the physical processor is different, and so it's just a better CPU all the way around. And the motherboard that I'm using, B550A Pro, is actually compatible with even the 5950X or something like that, 5800 3D, the newer, faster, beefier processor. So if I ever want to replace it with a better processor, the motherboard, the memory, all of that is still compatible. So this is not going to be so much a how to build a computer video as much as this is what I'm doing today, and maybe you'd like to come along and watch me work. 32 gigs of RAM, and like I said, the 5600X processor. I'm switching to an M.2 drive for my main hard drive. This is the part that makes me a little nervous, because I'm switching from an SSD to an M.2. I have my Windows running on this, and my plan is just to stick this into the new computer and boot from it. So that's the part that makes me nervous. Once I get it up and running, if I can get this just to boot, then I'm going to clone it to this one, and then I'll clear this one, and this will be just a backup drive or something like that. So very excited to see what kind of speed I can get and how much faster I'm able to render videos and that sort of thing once I get it switched up. So let's get started. Now, you can put some of the components together before you actually stick them into the case. So that's what I'm going to do here. Very exciting. This part will go into the back of the case here. Once we're ready to get that set up, got some cables, SATA cables that I can use to hook up drives and that sort of thing. So I'm getting my M.2 drive connected up here. Comes with a heat sink there. I don't get confused. Let's pull out my drive here. And those. Okay, and we're going to peel this off. Get this down. This just helps to disperse the heat on that drive, because M.2 drives work a lot faster than your SSD or regular spinning disk, and can generate a lot of heat. Get my processor out. Now this comes with a cooler, but I think I'm going to use my old cooler. It's not original to my system, my old system. I actually got it later when my last one stopped working. So 5600X has a little gold dot here and a little dot here. Slide that in like so. And lock it down like so. And then we need to mount our cooler. Alright, change of plans. The back plate for this cooler is not going to fit. So and the screws for that cooler don't fit on this back plate. So I'm going to use the supplied cooler. Already has thermal paste, so I'm just going to use that and just mount it as is. I'm a little disappointed that this doesn't go straight up and down. The AMD is not at the top, but I think we can make it work. So let's just get it set. Get it screwed down and so I wish I could have got my other cooler on here, but just have to go with the stock cooler for now, unless I can get another back plate for that one. And that gets my hard drive, my CPU, and the cooler in place. Now let's get my RAM set up, and it'll tell you which ones to put in first. There's a little screen print there that says I want to do the 4th and the 2nd slots for my RAM. That will let it run at the right speed that it was designed for. I got a lot of this on Black Friday with the Black Friday deals. Like so. And now I think we're going to go ahead and get this into the case. Now, the case itself comes with little standoffs. Basically, it has a male thread on the bottom that screws into the case, and female thread on the top that the motherboard screws go through to hold the motherboard to the case. This case was used with a micro ATX board. If you're not sure what that is, it's a smaller board. So the standoffs are not in the right places, and it doesn't have enough for the board that I'm going to put in here. You want to have all the holes with screws going through them. So I bought this little kit of screws, put a link down below for this. This has standoffs that come with it. So I'm going to use a couple of these to fill in the gaps for the ones that I don't have. And I'll be using an EVGA 650 watt. This is a modular power supply. If you're looking around, you're not sure what that means. Modular means that each one of the cables is connected individually. A non-modular will have one large cable that comes out that has all of your connectors tied to it. It cannot be removed from the power supply. Then there's semi-modular, and that will have some of the cables that can be removed and some of the cables that just come directly off. Some of the ones that you're going to have to use no matter what kind of computer you're building will come off here, and then you'll have optional ones that you can pull off and use if you need to. Essentially, the reason for that is for someone who's trying to build a very clean looking computer, glass panel and that sort of thing, it will allow you to remove some of the cables maybe that you're not using, and that way you finish with a much cleaner look to your computer. Alright, install the power supply here. And screwed in through the back here. And then let's go ahead, get our motherboard set into place. I'm going to stick this shroud in here. It should just pop in like so. And we're going to set this in on top of all of our points here. Make sure it sits right in line with everything. And then we can screw it down. This is an ATX board, which just means it's a bigger form factor, bigger size physically than some other boards. Okay, that's got my motherboard in place, RAM, hard drive, all of that. Now I just need to run my cables. I'm going to route my main power board cable straight around here. And down here to the power supply. Motherboard is marked right here. Front I/O, which is the USB connectors on the front of the case. I/O is input, output, or in and out. So it's basically the anything that brings information in or out of the computer. So let's see where we can connect this up. So I have my CPU power connected, motherboard power connected. I need to get my hard drive set up. The motherboard actually came with a few SATA cables, which is cool. Hard drive I'm going to stick in one of these bays over here. So I need to make sure I get it lined up correctly in the bay here, and then I can screw that in. Hard drive is going to need to connect to the data. And it will also need power. And power is done through this type of connection here. SATA port here on the power supply. Then you can run up through here. I'm going to put this on the middle one because I'll probably have some more drives in here after I get it started. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these cables set up. Got some fan connections here, fans on the front, and then the power button, reset button, all that kind of stuff for the front. Gives like the hard drive light and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that set up, and then we'll continue on with this build. I'll be adding some more fans later, but for now this is all I'm going to do. I do need to get my graphics card in here, of course, and that will go into that top slot like so. 3-pin connector here, or sorry, 6-pin to the power to power my graphics card. And I'm putting it upside down. I need to screw this in. Alright, I've got my hard drive set up here, my new hard drive here, RAM, CPU, graphics card, power, everything connected. So I think I'm ready to go ahead and get this plugged in, get my connections in the back set up, and we're going to see if this thing will boot up. Let's go. Alright, it's the moment of truth here. If I can figure out which one of these is a power button. Okay, fans are on. That's good. Now will it toast? Alright, so now I just need to get a boot drive set up. and or now I just need to get the boot drive selected and get all this done. All right, so we left off with my computer posting. I could get into the BIOS setup. Since then, that was yesterday, and since then I realized that my old hard drive, my SSD, that my OS and everything was on, it wouldn't boot under the newer, I should say, UEFI boot mode. If this doesn't make sense, it didn't make sense to me either. First time I'd ever had to deal with that. So I did finally, after turning off safe boot and switching the boot mode and all that kind of stuff, I did finally get it to boot to my old hard drive, which is nice because I could get back in. I have all of my settings, all of that set back up, or still set up, I should say. But I could not set that up on my new M.2 drive, which is very disappointing. So what I think the next step is, what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to try to clone this hard drive, this SSD, to my M.2 drive, and then I'm going to try to convert that drive from the master boot record MBR file setup to whatever it's supposed to be for the UEFI setup. Switch everything back to the secure boot and then try again and see if I can boot off of the M.2. Hopefully that'll work. Alright, so long story short, that didn't work. I ended up having to create a boot disk on my old PC using a USB thumb drive, and then basically setting up a fresh install of Windows on the M.2 drive. Then after I got that set up and got it booting on the M.2, I was able to connect my SSD using using an external SATA adapter. Once I got that set up, I was able to basically transfer all of my data from my old drive to my new drive. Basically copy everything from the folders that existed in Windows on the other drive into duplicate folders on the new drive. So games and stuff like that, I was able to just copy and paste over. Had to reinstall some applications that didn't work just right off the bat, but overall things started to work. If I did try to boot with my old drive and the M.2 drive in, it wouldn't boot. It started getting a little shaky. So once I got everything copied off the old SSD, I was able to wipe that, and then I didn't have any more issues booting up. I've been running off the new drive for a few weeks. Absolutely love it. It's faster, it boots faster, games run faster, my videos export faster, and so I've been very happy with it. I appreciate you coming along on this PC build. If you want to see more of my videos where I do things around the house, fix things or build things, go watch some of my other videos. I'll leave some links for you for that. I'll leave links to the parts that I used down below, as well as the link to this Movo shotgun microphone that I used. I really like it, and I know that you will too. Thanks again to Movo for sponsoring this video. Like it, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will talk to you later. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.